Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series here in Jönköping, Sweden. Our second circuit event of the year continues onward as we march through the round of 16. Thermal with a dominating performance over Namshar in that Terran versus Zerg sets us up for a Terran versus Terran to see who will play against Thermal tomorrow. I'm Nathanius, joined on the desk by Todd and DeMuslim. Todd, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. You're getting your voice back, man. Come on. And apparently, according to you, it's going to be the best thing and the best money that I've spent in some time when I finally purchased that one. So
I know you're very careful with your money, Todd. I wanted you to know that it would be worth it for you.
I thank you for that, and I'm looking forward to it.
How are you doing, DeMuslim?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. It's good to cast games and to see really good games too. I really like the fact that we have a few Terrans performing really well here. Thermal totally shining. Haven't yet got to cast any major games, but we're looking forward to him later on in the day. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. The racial diversity as far as the Terran Protoss Zerg has been really good. Considering the number of Zergs that we started off with, I do want to take an opportunity here to thank the sponsors helping to put this on: Asus, Republic of Gamers, and Razer. And with that being said, Kelazhur going up against Semper, a player that has already surprised us a little bit. I believe Smix is in the tournament area with our two competitors. Smix, who is going to be the king of the Americas?
Nathanius, I think that's a fantastic question. In fact, as you have been such a rooter of Terran players yourself, I'm going to throw this back to you. Who do you think is going to move forward?
Whoa.
Oh, I have to be the host. I have to be the least biased person, right? We all win because an American Terran will move forward.
Sounds good to me. I think it'll be really interesting just because Semper, I think, really surprised a lot of people, topping his group by 2-0ing Nurchio. I'm really interested to see whether that was a fluke or if that's something that he's going to continue and continue to show as he moves forward at this event. This going up against Kelazhur will be a big test for him because if he wins here, he makes it to the round of 8 and definitely makes a huge breakthrough performance. But of course, on the flip side, Kelazhur had a great performance at Austin. I think he's definitely looking forward to continuing that streak here at Jönköping, so this should be interesting.
Semper, as of late, is absolutely playing some of the best StarCraft he's ever been, as is Kelazhur, but I feel like for Semper it's a lot more impressive because we didn't really expect him to do that well as of late, and for this very tournament right here in Jönköping, he actually beat Massa in a very important match that qualified him here to come and play directly from the third group stage, whereas Kelazhur, we've known about him for some time by now. He's currently sitting in the 6th place of the WCS Circuit standings, so he's already been doing pretty well. We've seen him in actions, more specifically in this tournament. He already met Thermal, wasn't victorious against him, but still played some decent games. But I feel like Semper, he's peaking more than ever right now, and it's very dangerous.
Yeah, definitely one of the dark horses of the tournament. The fact that if you said, hey, who's going to win this tournament, or who's even going to be in top 16, if you said Semper to any of your friends, you'd have probably been laughed at, which... not rightly so anymore. I mean, this guy beat Massa to get here, and Massa went on a killing spree in the WCS qualifier for Valencia. So Massa's obviously in good shape, and Semper came here, no land jitters whatsoever, took out Nurchio to qualify to this position. So he's obviously doing very well for himself. And you know, we were not well informed when it comes to Semper's shape because he's obviously very good.
Yeah, there's two cool stories that at least immediately jump out to me. Massa that we talked about last year, he had a kind of similar arc that Kelazhur seems to be having right now, where we knew he was good, he performed well at his local tournaments, but he wasn't making the big stage appearances, and he really stepped it up in especially around this time last year. Kelazhur had an amazing performance in Austin, and now he's even closer to getting an even better one, which I find so cool, and that just obviously gels very well with the whole Semper kind of just coming out of the blue.
Yeah, it's very important for Kelazhur to keep his momentum going and try to do really well here because he's in 6th place of the circuit standing. So, I mean, if he loses right here, he doesn't score more points, people are going to start catching up, pass him over. So he needs to keep on posting results. Like, sure, he's had impressive runs, but he's very far from out of the woods, basically, if he wants to go to the global finals. Remember, it's only the 2nd event of 4 here.
Right.
I feel that we haven't really given Kelazhur enough credit for the leaps and bounds that he has made, though, recently. For a long time, you thought of, like, European Terrans. It was always, like, M-Lord, Thermal. Some of the names might be mentioned. But Kelazhur always fell out of the mix. He was playing in the Root House for a long time. And, you know, we didn't really highly regard the North American region besides Neeb and players like Scarlet or Major and such. But Kelazhur, he's really stepped up. The fact that he's so high up in the rankings and he is doing exceptionally well. WCS Austin, he defeated Snoot when Snoot looked really, really high form, and then narrowly lost to Nurture as well, 2-3. He's very sharp.
I think it's been awesome to follow the growth of some of these American players since the torch bearing of Scarlet and Neeb in the last 2 years. But I'm excited to get into this match, and I hope you guys are as well. We are ready to go to our Terran versus Terran series of the evening. It's going to be Kelazhur versus Semper.
G'day guys, welcome back. Maynard and In Control are going to be your casting team for this TvT between Semper and Kelazhur. An OSC Root team kill here. Next up in the round of 16.
An interesting matchup. I like what the boys at the desk talked about. Kelazhur was not a household name. I think if you go back to last year, certainly a lot of people in the scene know of this guy, but he really developed into... And for me, it was WCS Austin, where it's like, okay, all of a sudden, whoa, I'm going to be watching this guy because he looks incredible. He's going to be going up against this dark horse of a player. We've seen him on the North American ladder. That's not saying much. What can he do for us? Well, he can do it here, where he's going to be doing a lot.
That's right. Let's find out what can be done. First up from OSC Root, this is Kelazhur. And the top right, his teammate from French Canada. This is Semper.
You guys at home can see a bit of a glisten going on these young, attractive nerds. DeMuslim up there rocking a full head of glisten. It is hot. Sweden has a beautiful summer roaring on here. We've got some awesome StarCraft for you guys. What a treat. It's been a great tournament. I still think back to that. I got to tell you, that ZVZ, by the way, that went down to the final hatchery
Oh, the
0.5.
chance. Yeah, that's insane.
Oh, my God. If you guys didn't watch that, make sure and check the VODs after. You're like, well, that's tough In Control because I don't own StarCraft. Actually, right now, it's off 50%, by the way. You can buy StarCraft,
Well,
too.
did you look at that? I hear this, I mean, I feel like it hasn't been brought up enough at this event, but there's also a pretty huge DLC coming in the next patch.
I knew you were going to do it.
We'll just leave it there. But we actually we have pretty regular openings from both players going for double gas straight into factory. Probably most likely going to be that 1-1-1 play that TvT kind of has turned into. I'm not going to say devolved, but it sort of is the all-round safe opener that gets you a pretty strong leg up into the mid-game.
Yeah, if not devolved, then I would say stabilized, too. It seems like the meta has kind of settled around this kind of an opening, and I like to see that in a best of 5. These guys are teammates. They do know each other fairly well. If not as practice partners, then certainly as people that kind of discuss the game together. Seen them hanging out. They've been eating breakfast each morning with each other, and this match is kind of a treat. It was also funny to hear Euthermal talk about a TvT. Of course, he's going to be playing the winner of this match, but it's like TvT into a TvT of the 3 of 4 only Terrans in the round of 16.
Honestly, TvT was not a matchup I was even having on my radar looking at this tournament when I saw the player bracket. I see the Semper being very patient with this Reaper here, just chilling in the smoke. Of course, if you get the first shot off with the Reaper against another Reaper, you generally win the Reaper war. So he is going up into double, though, and into that Cyclone as things follow up. And this is generally followed up with a Raven. Both players going for mirrored openings, but you can also go for Banshee, but it is 9 times out of 10 a Raven.
Well, even to go back to your comment about the Reaper shot, it's actually a bigger deal than people think. The early Reapers don't necessarily represent like the biggest and scariest of army, but if that kind of stuff spills over real quick or in the early game, it's either like fantastic information or it can actually result in SCV loss. And in a mirror matchup, when you're both dealing with the same kind of stuff, that can be really, really bad. We are going to see Semper's Reaper find a hole in here, find some purchase. One SCV goes down, it's working on kind of another one. This is really good, actually, because that is that information I was talking about, but additionally, these SCVs are really important.
Yeah, looks like Kelazhur on the other side of the map didn't get the opening because the Cyclone bullied him away, but getting 3 SCVs for a Reaper is pretty damn good In Control. I'd be very, very happy with that as Semper.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because you might be like, well, didn't he lose his other Reapers on the other side of the map? It looks like he lost at least one of the 2 or something like that. But the funny thing about Reapers is, like, if they can get those kills, if they can get that information, that's it. I mean, later after that, there's some cute grenade stuff you can do, but for the most part, that is their prime. And you have to give the early advantage at least a little bit to Semper. But I'll tell you what, I want to ask you about this too, Maynard. Looking at these 2 players, isn't it Kelazhur that's the mega favorite to win this? I mean, he's been training in Korea talking about playing against Innovation, some of these guys.
Yeah, I had to bring it up at least one point in the series. We have to bring it up. That Kelazhur is just, an overwhelming favorite when you look at things on paper, but Semper is another one of these players that's been transforming before our very eyes. Beating Nurtio and topping your group is not something anyone would have expected.
It's pretty impressive.
So if he can keep this going, I mean, you know, flukes do happen in StarCraft too. Crazier things have happened, but if you could do it again...
Well, upsets are a part of this tournament for sure. I mean, we had Cham earlier talking about that ZVZ.
Yeah, if you're not a fan of ZVZs, that is actually the series that will probably change your mind in the matchup of the whole. Yeah, like it's actually, it was objectively awesome. Like if you have eyes that are connected to your brain, then that ZVZ was a pretty incredible treat to enjoy.
Oh, I mean, respectively too, if you have eyes that aren't connected to your brain, hit us up. That's a pretty sick thing that's got going on.
Send pictures at MaynardSC2. I just really interested to see.
I want to check that out. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. But let's take a look here. We do obviously have the Banshee kind of showing up from Kelazhur. It's not getting a whole lot done. The Reaper is going to get additional information for Semper, but if we are going to do that thing where we fall into the Todd a little bit, if we're going to look at the supply across the board, similar workers, similar army, similar overall supply, of course a little bit back and forth there, but both these guys had that kind of feeler out stage and have fallen back on what looks to be about a Marine tank, Raven backed up kind of army.
Once the Cyclone Raven stage of the game generally ends, it's all about that Marine tank. But we do see a fair few Cyclones here for Kelazhur. It looks like he has 3 versus the 2 of Semper. And you can...
But a tank, right?
There is a tank, which makes all the difference. But Cyclones can actually burn down a tank, especially if it's on siege like this.
Yeah, he's got to be careful. He actually sees that he can go up that ramp. Banshee gives him a little bit of control here as well. And all of a sudden, Semper's in a little bit of trouble. I'm not sure why the tank on siege. He wasn't trying to take a third. Might want to push out or something. This fight's turning a little bit deadly, but it looks like it is going to be Kelazhur that's going to have to push out of here.
Yeah, Cyclone Lock actually going to pick off that Viking, which makes things a little bit easier for the Raven here and the Viking of Kelazhur as well. So, I mean, the Banshee doesn't have anti-air, it's just an anti-ground unit, and the Ravens, it just relies on energy to do anything. So, with the air advantage here for Semper, he can definitely bully this army here of Kelazhur, which has been caught in the middle a little bit.
Both players going to drop their turrets down, but they immediately kind of get burned out or killed.
There's such a weird, awkward little scuffle here, but the Banshee breaking off from the pack and finding some SCV kills. Nice move here from Kelazhur.
This is a completely naked mineral line. There's nothing over here. The Cyclones are going to be your primary source of anti-air, and they're just going to have to come all the way back. Nice move from Kelazhur. Neither player committing to a third, so these SCV kills are actually really painful. If you're on 3 or 4, CCs, it's actually quite easy to remake them, but in this stage, this hurts a lot.
Really brilliant move from Kelazhur. I mean, he didn't research Cloak, so this is just a naked Banshee here. Just with the lack of anti-air, it's been shredding up Marines. It's killed 9 SCVs. That is a worth Banshee right there.
Yeah, a lot of worth there. Worth its weight in not even gold. It's got to be some kind of weird space resource that you only deal with. Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
Wait, is that Transformers?
I think that's actually Avatar. I think
Unobtainium?
No, wait, no. That was.
What is the Transformer one though? It's something equally stupid and terrible.
It's a stupid sci-fi name, but it is like it's a LOL testament.
It's like Megan Foxanium or something. I can't even remember what it is at this stage. But we are gonna have these tanks push up. So far unspotted. They do get the first shot off on that tank.
Yeah, that tank's gonna go down.
And it dies on the island. And these tanks, 3 tanks over there for Semper. Is he gonna be able to get a return shot in here? Pushing forward a little bit, trying to find, if he can reach that mineral line or the CC itself, that's going to be a lot of trouble for our Brazilian Terran Kelazhur.
Absolutely. This tank advantage here for Semper is pretty substantial. Just even 3 versus 2 is quite substantial in this mirror matchup. It looks like Kelazhur is going to stop him from bullying up the ramp too far. This gives the air army a little bit of space, maybe even dropping an auto turret. Would have been a pretty cute move there. You can burn down a tank if it doesn't get messed with.
Look how far Kelazhur's got to go. Is he going to cut off resources? Is he going to go for a full-on counterattack? We'll have to wait and see. He's pushing up here. He's into the tanks. It's a really weird choice. He's going to lose a lot of his units. SCV's getting pulled back here. And it is just the 1 tank for Kelazhur. A lot of SCVs did die there, but that counterattack, by the way, keep your eye on it. And I don't know what Semper was thinking. He pushes up there. He doesn't have Marines to back it up, so it felt like that was always going to kind of turn that way.
He does have 2 siege tanks. One of them's already sieged. Getting a little bit too far here, I feel like, is Semper. Kelazhur does still have a pretty scary army. But now that these 2 siege tanks are sieged and he has a ball of Marines with medevac support, he should be okay.
Okay, I was looking at the mid-map engagement, but it was just a medevac returning home. That poor tank, by the way, he's like, nah, forget it, you're done. We just wanted to slow him down, grab some attention.
Bam.
And he's going to pay for it with his life. But the third base is being established for Semper, defended by those tanks you were kind of talking about. Good positioning for Semper. It was looking kind of bad. It's not like he's in a clear, I'm a million miles ahead situation, but with that naked Banshee showing up as mineral line killing, I think it was 10 or 9.5, whatever it was, doing that kind of damage to immediately turn back was really nice.
Another thing they've got to be talking about for Semper here is that there is no third even in sight for Kelazhur, and Semper's third has been dropped on his third location. Meanwhile, a drop in the main doing more damage to the economy of Kelazhur. Semper taking a huge lead economy. Oh, he could potentially stop combat shield here. The SCV's not repairing it.
He
Down it
does
goes.
get it. Oh
Wow.
my gosh, that's huge. He gets a couple SCV kills there as well. And as you said, without that third base, I feel like losing the combat shield, I would be shocked if Kelazhur drops the third CC right now. It's got to be now or never, Maynard. I feel like he has to do it here.
You're absolutely right. I mean, he has to make do with what he has here, and he is going to go for, just armory, more production. He's just making as many units as he can, but the economy is going to start getting better and better for Kelazhur as time goes on in this game. It's going to start snowballing for him here.
It will, but
Kelazhur needs to do something.
Army supply in advantage for Kelazhur. He's got to push out right now. There is no third CC behind this. Combat shield does get restarted in case the battle continues. He's going to try to find a spot to do maybe a pseudo Doom drop, like some kind of... No, that's a full Doom drop. Forget it. He's going to go in on top of the army. The tank again unsieged.
The Marines pulling back away from the medevacs here. They're too afraid of the huge unloading potential of 5 medevacs to the main of Semper, sorry. Kelazhur doing so much damage. The tanks in the low ground here, in fact, going to kill a barracks by the looks of things. That's doing a great job.
And I mean, how do you get up there? The tank's watching the ramp, the production getting destroyed. Kelazhur needed to make something happen, and he's doing it. He's getting the factory. He already killed the barracks. And I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking, how does Semper recover? I don't even think it's possible.
I mean, with the advantages that he had, they've all gone away now that this Doom drop managed to find its way in. You need Doom drop defense. You need those Vikings. You need turrets. You need something. And as a completely naked main, a very well-spotted soft underbelly here for Semper that Kelazhur is completely tearing into.
Yeah, there's been a lot of nudity in this match, and it's about to come to a close. We do see that Kelazhur is picking off not just the production at this point in time, but even the medevacs. Maybe getting, he's going to get the orbital there. GG's called. First blood goes to Kelazhur. He's down just to the 2 bases, took some damage, had his combat shield delayed, but was able to hit that just decisive top of the ramp production hit, and it was the soft underbelly, as you said. It was game over.
And really well played there. Spotted weakness and took huge advantage over there against Semper, who was really in a pretty commanding position for that game. But
yes.
I saw on the minimap that he saw a lack of third for Kelazhur. He started to consolidate his forces, but he was just a second or two too late to be able to defend. And I'm actually surprised that he didn't try and burn down those medevacs with the Marines that he had in his main, but it wasn't enough. Like, he could have maybe killed 1, 2 if he was lucky, but even then, three or four medevacs still being alive to unload would have been more than enough, especially with the tank positioning for Kelazhur on Defender's Landing. When you get to that spot, it's very, very tough. You're like dug in like a tick. It's so hard to dig out without, something like Liberators, but either way, you trade inefficiently when those tanks are in that position.
Yeah, but not like a deer tick. We're talking like a drop bear tick or like
some kind of really crazy Australian bug. That
very aggressive tick.
We have a huge collection of bugs to pick from, and one's not really coming to mind right now.
Yeah, like mutant something or another. I don't know, some kind of deer hunter, spider dragon.
Wow.
I do have to say though, Kelazhur, again, going into this, the hype behind him, I know it's been a lot of us casters, but look, that's what we're supposed to do, but it's a little bit real. If you guys didn't check out WCS Austin, do what you can to watch those VODs or if there's any highlights out there, because he really came away from that an impressive player. There was a couple of series where he was down 0-2 to some of these really good Zergs. He was able to claw back. Looked really good. My point is, in this series, well, we're only 1 game deep, but I didn't see it as much. He was making some mistakes. I feel like he was actually definitively behind against Semper at a couple moments in time there. And not because he got like mega tricked or something like that. A little bit questionable decision. So maybe a little bit of butterflies settling going on here.
Kelazhur did play mainly TvZ and TvP at Austin for...
these guys are talking about how rare TvT is right now, I guess, for them.
Yeah, and there are a lot of Terrans where they actually, TvT is their Achilles heels. It's not unnatural for Terrans to find it very hard to kill their own race.
Yep.
A Terran is hard to kill, even for another Terran. It is tough.
There's a little bit of there's a lot of camaraderie amongst the Terran players, and they just can't do it. They're like, you know what?
They're holding the gun to the temple, and they're just like, I just can't do it.
If we both
you mean too much to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's too bad they don't have, like in the Hunger Games movie, how they had that moment where they were gonna. One of them had to eat the berry, but what they ended up doing in the end was, I believe they both didn't eat the berry.
Spoilers, by the way, for the Hunger Games.
Yeah, it's like a 20-year-old movie though. It's time. Jennifer Lawrence went on to do so many other things with that series.
She sure did.
She did.
She sure did. Congrats to Jennifer Lawrence. But in the first place, let's see about these players in the bottom left here from OSC Root, from Brazil. This is Kelazhur.
I hope you like cheddar, Maynard, because that red man right there is doing something dastardly.
Some ginger cheddar. In the top right here from OSC Root, from French Canada, this is Semper. Going to be on the receiving end of the cheddar. Is he lactose intolerant?
Well, as you know, being a French Canadian, they're half French. They have quite the taste for cheddar themselves.
They actually are incredibly gifted people at dealing with and producing fantastic dairy products.
Fantastic, but also questionable. Have you had some of the exotic French cheese that is out there?
I actually have. I'm a fan of some of it, but the ones that are super rich, maybe like the blue vein ones, they're a little bit past my palate.
It's going to end up being that it's some like really long con, huge joke. They're like, so by the way, like some French prime minister in 20 years is going to be like, guess what? Last 200 years, you guys have been eating rotten cheese. It's been a joke this entire time. Look at how calculated that is.
Oh, my God.
He knew.
Wow.
He knew the scouting path.
That's so sick. And Kelazhur's going to get away with this for the most part. I mean, Semper's not going to know until he gets into the main of Kelazhur that there is a pretty sick proxy happening here. Multiple barracks with Reapers being produced.
They're so close. They're completely undetected. It's actually good that we get an SCV scout out of Semper if you want a chance here. He is going to show up, and by the time he gets in that base, he immediately knows what he's facing. But look at the clock. I mean, he's a solid, minute or two into the game, and he's just now finding out that he is about to be under attack.
This is when your heart drops into your socks in control. You're like, oh boy, I'm going for a single Rax expand here. He didn't drop the CC at least, and he's going to have to start walling off. The wall can actually really nail this, but it doesn't look like Kelazhur's going to let it happen. He's marshaled his way in.
Using those linebacker SCVs to grab the attention of that Reaper, dodges the grenade, does have that advantage you were talking about earlier, so there is the duel. It has been concluded. It is in favor of our Red Terran. Kelazhur, he's going to go after some of these SCVs, try to stop that bunker from going down.
And he will.
And the production is higher for Kelazhur. Keep that in mind, too. He's already getting some kills, but he's going to have... That's it!
Yeah.
GG, there's even like a man or eBay going down. Kelazhur sprinkling a little bit of his, Terran feral juice there to kind of mark the territory.
Terran feral juice.
Yeah, I ran out of words.
That's so visceral.
It's tough because, like, younger Jeff would say really inappropriate things there, but I want to keep my job. I want to keep doing
we're in our 30s. We actually are obligated to a lot of companies now to behave ourselves. We're doing a good job for the most part, I feel, here in WCS Jönköping.
Well, it's been a great 7 minutes of commentating this series so far, I think, and you gotta feel for Semper. He is that kind of upstart guy. He's finally made it here. He's won his group, as you've been talking about for a while now, Maynard. Beating Nurchio, that's no small feat, and not even cheesing him or something like that, like literally beating him in a straight-up match, but all of a sudden, boom, 0-2, and he's facing, he's got a 3-0 to advance in this tournament. The likelihood of this, I just got the numbers from Vegas. It's very low. We're talking like low 1 or 2%.
Really? Well,
yeah.
I mean,
not even Kevin would bet on those odds, man.
Yeah, there are very few people in the world that would bet on those odds, but bless Rotterdam, we know that he's thought about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's bet on 14-year-old volleyball games in Japan, so if there's anything to be bet on, it would be from Kevin. But even this, he would question it. So we're gonna move on to our third map here, Abyssal Reef, which, it's a TvT, so this doesn't necessarily change that much for us, I don't think.
Now, I am a betting man, and I do like to gamble from time to time, but, within sensibility. But I actually feel like Semper could actually start to win a map at least here. Like, he is, in the games that we've seen, when it did actually get to the later game, on game 1 on Defender's Landing, Semper looked a lot stronger than I've ever seen. He's actually, like, career best right now. That said, though, so is Kelazhur, so it's really tough to say. Does Semper have a chance here? Of course he does, but how much of a chance is this guy going to give him? This is OSC Roots Kelazhur. Currently on match point.
Oof.
And in the bottom right, he's going to need to win the next 3 if he wants to get out of this one. This is Semper.
I think the writing is on the wall. That guy right there is going to have to pull. I mean, some people talk about rabbits out of a hat to do some kind of magic. For him, it's got to be like a hippo, then a rhino, then like an elephant, maybe a whale. He's got to pull so many large animals out of a hat that I don't think it's possible. I've never seen it done. Kelazhur playing a best of 5 really well, by the way. I love the decision to make that cheese. You can see, God, it's a space shark. Get it out of here. No, if you were to pull that out of a hat, that would be the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Congratulations, you'd actually be my most looked up to Terran player in the whole world. Yeah. And we see that Semper is going for the more sensible opening, and so is Kelazhur this time. He's building his barracks in his main to change things up.
Keep it inside the predictable space. But, I'm always kind of impressed by this, too. Semper gets the mind game dealt to him in game 2, where it's like, oh, no, it's cheese. But what does he come back with? He actually is not even SCV scouting. He's doubling down on macro, and he's going to do his own thing. It's pretty impressive to have that kind of resolve, I guess.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's just, even though it's inefficient or maybe it's not the right choice, doing what you're most comfortable with and what you're most practiced with can end up being just what ends up giving the win in the end. We see Kelazhur going for a single gas expand here. So just going for a Reaper expand, it looks kind of TvZ-ish, but he is going to get that CC a lot faster than Semper. You really just chill on one base until that starport's out.
Kelazhur did not see the second gas. Is that concerning, Maynard? I know you're a big Terran guy here.
I mean,
is that a problem?
He didn't see the second gas, but he did see a pretty quick factory, so you could probably put 2 and 2 together.
Is that factory pretty quick?
Well, I mean, it's about as fast as you expect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you on a single gas getting that factory is possible, but
comes a little bit later, I guess.
A little bit later.
All right, we're gonna have those Reapers make their way out of here. A second one coming out for Semper. But he's kind of resolving himself to, again, not being very aggressive with it. We saw this in game number 1 as well, where he would be happy to take the first couple of shots, deny information, as opposed to kind of aggressively going out and grabbing it. But this time around, Kelazhur's going to shake things up and also be a little bit less aggressive. The faster expansion, though, the game is being established for us that what is happening right now is Semper's going to have to get some damage done with his tech. If he doesn't, he's just going to be so far behind economically, it's going to be a tough game for him to crawl back into.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you can actually do a lot of hurt here with Dull Reaper and Cyclone, especially with the Hellion to help out against Marines or even the other Hellions. We see that Kelazhur is getting the units that you really need here, that you need those Cyclones. They're so strong defensively and offensively, potentially. The 2 Reapers coming up here.
Good reaction.
Yep, very quick on the trigger there to pull that Reaper back. He has a
actually,
couple Marines on the high ground. He could actually take some pot shots there. Yeah, it very hurts that Reaper.
Does do a little bit of damage. There's that Hellion you were talking about. But seeing the 2 Marines, maybe not super excited about trying to breach the top of that ramp. And he is going to get ushered away by the Cyclone for at least right now.
Yeah, Big Daddy Cyclone usually says no to a lot of Reaper openings here. But there is, of course, Cyclones being followed up here for Semper, and they're being sent across the map. So there is potential to be able to break this. Just the one Cyclone. If Kelazhur gets a little bit too, like, hey, I think I'm pretty safe here, then he's going to pay the price for sure.
And he's got those Marines on the other side there, too, trying to grab some Reapers hopping up the ramp, but it's not going to be that. It's going to be a breach, as we talked about. Getting the grenade shot there as well. This Cyclone is dead. It doesn't even get any kills. That oh, okay, well, there you go. There's the caster curse. Does actually get the Reaper in the very end. There is the Reaper of Kelazhur making its way to the natural, but right now, all the action's right here. We need to see Semper deal a big blow.
And he's doing all right so far. He's got a few SCVs. Oh, that said, though, the single Reaper of Kelazhur coming across the map, laying that natural, the auto turret out of range.
And delaying that expansion and not, I mean, he's doing some damage here, but if he ends up losing these units, can get really bad. He's going to get pushed away. And again, I would say, look at the supply. We see an advantage in both army and workers for Kelazhur. He's got the much faster expansion, which of course leads to another mule. He's going to be in a good spot. And
the other annoying thing is that Semper used his Raven defensively to try and drop an auto turret, so he can't actually harass the mineral lines for a little bit here. He has to kind of put a delay on that order.
Oh, I like that quote. It's from the, is it every battleship that says that?
I think so, and also the general in the Wings of Liberty campaign.
Arturus Minx, the man himself?
No, not the Emperor. A general for the. He was on Jimmy Rayner's side.
All right, we'll figure it out. Nate knows every quote from the Terran guys. We'll figure it out. But that drop, by the way, we did see spotted mid-map. It's going to make its way to the natural to further delay that expansion. We do get the top of this ramp breached by Semper, doing some good damage, but he's got one Cyclone really low, the other one getting down there. And again, his Raven just doesn't get it done. He loses both the Cyclones, and the drop on the other side is again avoiding the missile turret. This is falling apart for Semper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's bad.
He's forced. He can't actually cancel this orbital. He needs it to finish. He's making a third in the main to try and catch up and even try and take ahead of the economy here. But Kelazhur has been really punishing him for it. That said, he's not in a terrible spot economically. Yeah. Kelazhur is still ahead quite a bit in supply with a pretty healthy army. He has a lot more Marines than Semper does.
I really like what you pointed out. Kelazhur is ahead, but if there is a way for Semper to get back into this, it's going to be a very fast third and then holding on to it. Maybe not even a third, but like a third orbital to better saturate the natural, drop some mules on it. That being said, though, Kelazhur's got no intention for the game to go anywhere near there. He's adding more infrastructure behind this, and he's already pushing back out. He could elevate up into the main if he wants to, which would kind of get at that soft underbelly.
Yeah, break through the scales, get to the weak point. Does take out that supply depot. He's going to start burying into the main. There's a Viking here, though. Oh, that medevac gets taken out.
Medevac, wow.
A lot of the units got unloaded, but still, it's a nice pick-off there for Semper. He doesn't have to worry about the ferry tactics anymore.
I'll tell you what, though. Semper does have some of the most like gentle Raven decisions ever. He's like, I'm going to put the turret over here. You don't have to engage this, but if you should choose to, it would be very nice of you.
Please trade into my energy.
Come on over here, please.
Yeah.
But look at the supplies. They do every time, by the way. Every freaking time I say that, Todd comes to mind, and it's going to get to the point.
He's going to be on our heads forever. The meme
I love Todd.
Too ingrained into our minds.
I love Todd, but I don't need to see him in my head every time I say a phrase. That's conjuring up quite the image. But it has equalized, by the way. Army and Workers has stabilized a little bit. How did Semper do it? I think it's with a couple of nice defenses. Killing a medevac full of anything is always going to get you back there some way.
And I love that he already has, Viking production on the brain. He's still producing Vikings. So it looks like Semper, TvT stylistically, you can be the guy that's like, hey, I just want to muscle through with Marine Siege. And some Terrans like, hey, I want to win the air advantage. I want to take the air and I want to start getting Liberators. I want to push your tanks back.
I love this from Kelazhur, by the way. He a couple series ago, I'm thinking back to when he was playing Showtime. He was way behind and in trouble. He's not necessarily in that situation right here, but he will just constantly shave off portions of his army. And you know what? Sometimes this won't do anything. Sometimes it'll get swatted down, but more often than not, it can do the kind of damage that actually turns the game around or wins it as well. It's just cool that he constantly puts that kind of pressure on his opponent.
Kelazhur has more army, but Semper's is higher tech. He has these Ravens, he has these Vikings, and he has siege tanks positioned to protect that third, which is obviously a way earlier than Kelazhur's, who's just dropped it on location now, halfway done. Oh, Kelazhur!
Well,
a little bit of a sloppy move there, loses a few Marines for free.
Gotta be careful for that, but he is going to be out on the map. And look how difficult that is to play against, though. If that higher tech army, as you pointed out, Semper moves out, he has to know there's like a Doom drop or base trade threat at least looming almost at all times. And that's just kind of what Kelazhur does. He's going to have his army out on the map, and he's going to put that pressure on you.
Absolutely. He's getting that sensor tower up, but not before these 3 siege tanks and a whole ton of Marines here for Kelazhur. Set up position, attacking here. Going to be aggressive, and he's getting in. He's sieging up, but he's in range when the tank's going to lose one of his tanks to the siege tank of Semper.
Immediately, a tank goes down, and a really important one for Semper in that defense of the mineral line. But I think he's just doing a nice job with the Ravens of thinning out the tank line a little bit. Actually, as I say that, I kind of want to retract it. This orbital is under attack.
One more
the tank's
turret.
still standing. There's another missile turret goes down, and it does, not missile turret, excuse me, auto turret, and it does drop a tank.
Well, there's no SCVs to repair here. He needs to get on that. There we go.
Be careful. There you go. Put up those fires, man.
Yeah, that's a very important structure to keep it alive. Kelazhur is trying to delay time to try and get his third up a little bit, on location and ready quicker. And a double drop into the natural as well.
No, that's a tough spot to go. Actually, the tanks are unsieged, so it's a little bit easier. And he's going to get some damage done. Goes after the tank. He gets 0 shots off. Now going to be able to move forward here. And he's doing some good work. They're going to drop on top of the tanks. There's no support units like Marines, so they just might get those tanks as well. A nice trade nonetheless. And the space in the third, by the way, that's been won over there is a big deal. He's going to drop on top of those tanks as well. Look how aggressive Kelazhur is.
Kelazhur scanned and he saw that the army of Semper was out of location. He decided to pounce on those tanks, and he does actually cut into the tank count quite heavily here. He's 4 tanks versus the 1 of Semper. In fact, Semper just made an extra second tank just now.
I got to be critical. Semper's got this air dominance. You pointed out the the Viking production earlier on. Pick off those medevacs just like that. Yeah, there's been some Marines, but they have tremendous range, and if you do a good job controlling them, you can kind of do that earlier on. I feel like had he done that, his tank count would be even higher because they wouldn't have been getting dropped on. So a missed opportunity, maybe something he'll kind of key in on a little bit later here.
And Kelazhur is the, his TvP is so strong right now because of this drop play, which he manages to use his multitask muscle pretty well here, and it's working out well for him in this map as well. Barreling up this natural.
Jeez.
So ballsy. In TvT, you almost never see this. You're like, I could get siege tanked and my army get minced, but he gets up there anyway, and the landed Viking's going to clean up the siege tank, do the rest.
Yeah, he even had to scan for the high ground because he's lost so many medevacs. So it's like, that's a cool move, and that's cute, but I see that as also a way for Semper to get back into this.
Yeah,
that was not a good trade.
No. Semper ended up coming off the top end there for sure. Kelazhur being very ballsy there. Doesn't want to keep making mistakes like that. That will give Semper back in the game. Yeah. In fact, the units lost tab kind of showing that Kelazhur's been a little bit less efficient this game, but he still finds himself in a pretty decent spot. Even though he's down 6 workers, his army is still very powerful, and 3-3 is already on the way here for the Brazilian Terran.
Well, I think he's ahead. I mean, if you again, you can kind of look down there and see that. And that's an interesting way to look at it, too. He's lost more. He's been, quote-unquote, less efficient with his units because he's lost more in terms of value. But he's doing the bodies over bullets thing where it's like, yeah, I'm losing stuff, but I'm expanding behind it. I'm not being attacked. And as long as that's all occurring, that's how he's going to try and carve out this victory. Well, he's going to push in his position. Finally, there's tanks in a decent spot for Semper. I don't know how well he'll be able to crack into that. But you know what he's doing with this army, too? he's not allowing him to take a fourth. And as you pointed out, Maynard, that fourth is going down for Kelazhur.
Sure is. He's going to have himself in a nice, healthy position. Look like Semper trying to go for a bit of drop play himself. We haven't really seen a whole lot of drop play from Semper just yet, but it's going to be nice to see. In fact, he's going to go unload the Marines here and stim into that third base location. We happen to know that...
Oh, that's a deep stim, though.
Yeah, it's a very, very deep stim. Kelazhur's not really in position at all. He's going to lose some SCVs here for sure.
Yep. And it's nice to see this can pick up and go to the main. At least he draws back Kelazhur's army. That's something, too. When Kelazhur's defending, he's not attacking, probably. That's a nice kind of thing you can do here. He's going to get a couple of kills, but it's good to do that. It's going to free up some space because, again, when that's happening, all of a sudden, there is the opportunity for Semper to maybe expand. One thing to kind of keep your eye on, too, is that Viking dominance, I think, remains. It's like Kelazhur's just not even going to try. If you look up there, he's ahead in upgrades and, you know, in almost every other category, but he's just said, okay, my medevacs are always in threat.
Yeah, absolutely. 3-3 nearly finished here for Kelazhur, so his Marine's going to be a fair bit stronger than Semper's. He just has the 2-1 right now.
Ooh,
way big upgrade difference.
Yeah. And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Especially with Marines. They have some of the highest DPS in the game, and if you're being upgraded by as many as like 2 or 3 upgrades, that's a gigantic deal.
This is another potentially painful drop here. Not a whole lot at home for Kelazhur. Kelazhur is being very aggressive, very aggressive, aggression-focused, which means that he's not really thinking about the possibility of drops here.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, too, because I think he's just not counting on that, but that drop's going to do this, not a whole lot of damage. Getting some SCVs there, which is nice. Big fight over here, though. He's going to jump on top of the tanks, really hurting that tank count. He's going to back away. You got to be careful. He's so far behind in Marines, and those Marines, as we've been talking about, are way more upgraded. Oh, here it is. I was going to say, there hasn't been a Doom drop yet, which is like what is all about TvT for right now.
Yeah, and just sometimes when I see big Doom drops like this, I just want to go TvT. It's just,
let's do it!
Let's go!
End it now!
And we see that there is actually like a sensor tower, a sort of circle pancake stacked on top of each other here to see that there, you know, that dropships can come in. But the one in the third got taken out a little bit ago. It's been remade. But, I mean, even if you see the Doom drop, you can't always stop it. And here he comes. He's actually unloading at the third here.
Wow. Interesting choice. It's not too far for the army of Semper to get over here. He's going to jump on top.
He just
has the tanks in the back doing so much damage.
Yeah, and this Marine advantage for Kelazhur is so incredible. He's actually shredding apart a lot of the tanks of Semper, killing so many SCVs, and there's not a whole lot left for him to
orbital.
That is incredible damage here. Incredible damage. Kelazhur in a almost unlosable position here. How does Semper even come back from this position?
I don't think he does. And can I actually ask Mr. Observer person, can we please get the resources lost chart up again? Because I think Kelazhur, okay, he has actually leapfrogged him up at this point in time, but man, just mauling all over Semper. It feels like he's constantly trading out and losing, but he's doing so not even necessarily cost effectively. He's just constantly on top of Semper. I mean, as we saw, it is now cost effective. But Semper fighting for his life. He's down 0-2. He's going to stick it out, but I mean, Maynard, he's dead.
Yeah, the writing's on the wall here for this series, unfortunately, for the French-Canadian Terran. He's in such a rough spot. In fact, his tank is blocking the CC. It's a little bit awkward
When
here.
it rains, it pours.
Oh, it sure does, even though we're underwater.
He can't afford to start up his third armor upgrade. He's got attack about to finish for his bio, so that's nice. This orbital actually could just die. And look at the confidence of Kelazhur. He's going to stim forward, targets the tanks. Every time he kills any tank, it's a much bigger deal, obviously, for Semper to try and replace that.
In control. You want to see how bad the situation is for Semper. It's 50 Marines versus 5.
5's not a lot.
No, it's not. It's really not at all.
Okay.
So Semper really just has siege tanks here. He's desperately trying to do anything he can. This is his tournament life on the line, of course. Cannot fault him for staying in the game and trying to make something happen here.
Yeah.
But he is in a terrible spot. Like, it cannot stress enough. Kelazhur is... Yeah. If he knew what we knew, he would just dump on this army and end it right now.
I feel like this whole best of 5, by the way, is a really cool progression. Like, the first game, not super impressive. The second game, getting there. The third game, an absolute mauling. It looks like Kelazhur has come online. Semper had a great tournament. He's done an amazing job. We're starting to kind of recognize him as a player that can threaten the topper echelon. He's not there just yet. GG's called out. This teammate's going to tap out. And our Brazilian Terran, Kelazhur, with a 3-0.
Very dominant. Beautiful performance.
Oh, wow.
Oh, ladies, slow down. One at a time, please.
Hold my hand.
Oh, my God. So we're all mud on the collar here.
You know what? He's not the only red thing here, I'll tell you. Dusting off the shoulders.
Wow.
Go and get that dirt off that shoulder, as they say in the hip-hop music lands. But hey, Semper, again, beating Nurchio in group stage, winning his group. Great performance by him. He did unfortunately hit the brick wall that is this man standing with Smix, Mr. Kelazhur. Let's hear from him right now.
Thank you very much, guys. Kelazhur, phenomenal performance. I know that when you got the top 8 at WCS Austin, that was a really, really great result for you. How great does it feel to keep that performance going and also get top 8 here?
I'm really happy because my goal is to really qualify for BlizzCon this year, and if I want to have a shot at it, I have to get at least a couple top 8s, so I'm already pretty excited.
Now, I know that I was looking at your match history against Semper, and the head-to-head score, you've always been ahead. You've won a lot more times against him than he has against you. So because of that, were you feeling pretty confident headed into this, or did you just decide to take it one game at a time? Let's not get too confident.
At the same time that I was confident about it, I didn't want to get excited because not only did he beat Masa in a very clean manner to qualify for here, he also beat Nurcho and many other good players, but I still felt that if I played my own game, I would still beat him, you know.
Now, I know when I spoke to you yesterday, you said, in terms of, you gave a very humble answer. You said you're feeling good, but not the best performance or anything like that, so you're just going to take it easy. Now that you are continuing at this tournament and showing a pretty good performance here, I mean, a 3-0 is nothing to scoff at. Do you feel like your confidence is rising at all, or do you still feel like you still need to take it one game at a time?
Well, after my series with Showtime, my confidence was a little bit higher. But I still think I'm a little inferior to the other players, so I'm going to have to do some work if I want to get to the round of 4.
Last question, you're going to be facing Uthermal next in the round of 8. He is a player that defeated you in the group stage, but it was 2-1. It was a pretty close and scrappy series, so going up against him again, do you think there's anything you learned from losing to him in the group stage that you can sort of apply in the round of 8?
Well, I should have been Uthermal in the group stages. I did a big mistake in the first game, so I'll make sure to not let that happen again.
Confident words there. Thank you very much, Diego. Best of luck. And of course, with that, we have a Terran guaranteed in the semifinals. Nathanias, I'm sure you're happy to hear that.
Oh, my heart beats with joy, Sue. An amazing performance here from Kelazhur, destroying the Canadian Terran player. Fast, violent speed, momentum applied to all of his strategies. Muslim, I know you like to play that Devil Terran, the aggro, bringing out the pressure, bringing out the pain.
And that's exactly what Kelazhur did. Far better than I would currently, though. Yeah, Kelazhur's been so good recently. He's really been flying under the radar, but I hope he's appearing in more people's vision, because this guy, he's what now, like top 6 in WCS rankings or so, and he's looking really strong. He got narrowly beat by Uthermal, but he did look like he was playing better early game, so he looked very crisp in that regard. Then he beat Showtime twice to make it out of that group stage, beating Semper 3-0. Semper you can look at and say that isn't the biggest win, but getting to the top 8, beating anybody is a big deal.
It's very important. It's going to be a whole new day tomorrow. Like they get a whole night's rest to think about the matchup too. So really good job by Kelazhur. Very impressive. Quite a few 3-0s actually in these matchups today.
Yeah, it's been quite a few of those ones. We had a couple of the really close ones, of course. Think back to the ZVZ series with Cham and Snoot, but very interesting results that we've had so far here today. I think the Terran performance is something that a lot of people have been looking forward to. The Zerg dominance was the big question on the plate, but now it seems like we have the potential for a Terran to end up in the finals, which mostly excites me because we've seen Uthermal also showing this confidence, a lot of confidence out of the players. But Kelazhur seems to be the only person that's not saying, I'm going to go to the finals.
One beautiful thing about Kelazhur as well, he spends so much time trying to qualify for tournaments, be it Copa America or what have you, playing in that South American zone. And his record against Major is something like 16 against 16 in matches. So, and he's highly regarded as one of, if not the best foreign Terran right now. So the fact that he can keep up with Major and go toe-to-toe with him, it just shows that he's very, very good in TvT. And it's not even his best matchup, I believe, with TVZ being his forte. But Uthermal's a big opponent for him next. And the fact that he already lost against him, but some big words right there, I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Yeah, this bracket is starting to shape up really nicely as we round out the round of 16. We're just about done clearing it up and finding out who will play in the top 8 tomorrow. We have 2 more matches to go through. Sort of is going to go up against Neeb, some Protoss versus Zerg action, our last Protoss in this bracket to try and move on.
Look at all these flags. No 2 identical one currently in the quarterfinals. Could happen if Special makes his way there. But it's so nice to see so many different players from different countries doing well, and all 3 races still represented.
All 3 races, yeah, we thought this was going to be totally Zerg dominated, which Zergs are definitely doing well, but one big thing you bring up there is the regions are so much closer.
Yeah.
now.
That's so cool.
Latin America has bounced back, man. Kelazhur, Major, and Cham, they're not just like the best of that region. They are the real representatives of the whole of the Americas, really. Like, they're really holding their own.
The true torchbearers of the American StarCraft scene. As we said, it's going to be Sort of versus Neeb coming up next. We'll be right back after this commercial break.